Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to jump into something really fascinating, Kundalini energy.
And specifically, we're looking at it through the lens of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa.
Exactly. He was this incredible 19th century Indian mystic, a yogi, Swami Vivekananda's guru.
And what's amazing about him is how he could take these really deep, complex spiritual ideas and just make them simple, so accessible.
Right. So our mission today basically is to explore what Sri Ramakrishna actually said happens when that Kundalini energy awakens in someone. We're sticking close to his explanations here.
It's a powerful concept, and his perspective is, well, quite unique and practical, even with something so esoteric.
Okay, so maybe let's start with the baseline. According to Sri Ramakrishna, where's the mind usually at for what he called a worldly man? Like, where's the focus?
Yeah, he put it very directly. He said that mind is mostly stuck in the three lower centers.
Which are?
The navel, the sexual organ, and the organ of evacuation. So basically, thoughts and energy are tied up with, everyday physical needs, desires, that kind of thing.
Got it. A very sort of earthbound focus. Now, for this energy to awaken and move, there's this yogic idea about nerves or channels in the spine. Can you tell us about those? Sri Ramakrishna mentioned 3.
Yes. The yogic texts talk about Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Think of them as energy channels along the spine.
Okay.
Ida and Pingala are important, but for Kundalini's upward journey, the crucial one is Sushumna. It's like the central highway within the spinal column for this awakened energy.
The central highway, like that. And along this Sushumna, there are these energy centers, right? Chakras or lotuses.
Exactly. Sri Ramakrishna talks about 6 main centers along the Sushumna, starting from the bottom.
Let's walk through them. What's the first one at the very base? Muladhara.
That's the one, Muladhara, base of the spine, and he mentions it has 4 petals, and this is key. It's where the Kundalini energy resides, coiled up, dormant.
Like a sleeping snake. That's the image often used, isn't it?
Precisely. And interestingly, Sri Ramakrishna pointed out that bhakti yoga, intense devotion, that path of love for God, can actually awaken it really quickly.
Wow, so pure devotion can kickstart this whole process.
Apparently so. That deep love seems to be a powerful trigger.
Okay, so the serpent is awakened, potentially by devotion. What happens next? What are the next centers?
Well, moving up, you have Svadhisthana and then Manipura.
Right.
Now, the sources we're focusing on don't have Sri Ramakrishna detailing massive shifts right at these specific points, but traditionally, Svadhisthana is linked to creativity, pleasure, and Manipura, more with personal power, that sort of thing. So you could say these areas get energized as Kundalini passes through.
Makes sense. The energy keeps rising. The next big stop seems to be the heart, Anahata. What did Sri Ramakrishna say about reaching this point?
Yes, the heart center. This is a major turning point, according to him. Anahata at the heart, 12 petals in Tantra, corresponds to the 4th plane in the Vedas.
And the experience.
He says when Kundalini gets here, the mind starts pulling away from those lower centers we talked about. It's the first real taste of spiritual consciousness.
A taste?
Yeah.
Where does that manifest?
You might see light, feel this overwhelming sense of wonder. He describes the person becoming almost speechless, thinking, what is this? What is this?
Wow.
And crucially, the mind stops automatically chasing after worldly things. It's like its magnetic north has shifted.
That exclamation, what is this? Really captures it. A genuine sense of awe. Okay, so after the heart's awakening.
Upwards to the throat center, Visuddha. This is the 5th plane, he says, a 16-petaled lotus.
And what signifies reaching Visuddha?
Freedom. Freedom from ignorance, from illusion. And a profound shift in interest. Sri Ramakrishna says at this stage, there's a complete lack of interest in worldly talk, gossip, mundane affairs. The entire focus becomes God, the ultimate reality. Nothing else really holds appeal.
So your conversations, your thoughts, everything aligns toward the divine. Okay. And then the Ajna chakra, the 3rd eye.
Yes, Ajna. Between the eyebrows, 2 petals. This is the 6th plane.
And the experience here. Is it even more intense?
Oh, yes. Sri Ramakrishna describes it as gaining a direct vision of Satchidananda.
Satchidananda, existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute.
Exactly, you see it. But, and this is subtle, he says there's still a tiny bit of ego left.
Still, even with that vision.
Just a trace. And there's this intense desire to, touch or merge with that absolute form, but it feels just out of reach. His analogy was seeing light through a pane of glass. Close, but separate.
That's a brilliant analogy.
Yeah.
So close, yet still a veil. What's beyond that veil? What's the final destination?
The final stop is the Sahasrara, the 1,000-petaled lotus at the very crown of the head.
The crown chakra.
Right. And this, in Tantra, is where the individual soul, Shakti, finally unites with the Supreme Soul, Shiva. This union is samadhi.
Samadhi. We hear that term a lot. How did Sri Ramakrishna describe that state itself?
He described it as, well, a complete dissolution, in a way. You lose all sense of the body.
No body consciousness.
None. Knowledge of the outside world just disappears. You stop seeing duality, me and other, this and that. Even reasoning, the mind's normal function, it just stops.
It stops.
Completely. It's the attainment of the knowledge of Brahman, the ultimate reality. And the result, silence. Profound silence.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's hard to even conceptualize. What happens to the physical body when someone reaches this Sahasrara and enters that deep samadhi?
Well, according to Sri Ramakrishna, the body can't really hold that state for long.
Really?
He said that usually the body is given up within about 21 days.
21 days?
Yes. Someone in that state is called a Brahmajnani, one who has fully realized Brahman. It's the ultimate realization, and the physical form isn't needed or perhaps sustainable after that.
That seems so final. But didn't he also talk about some people who reach samadhi and then come back, in a sense, retaining some kind of ego?
Yes, that's a very important point he made. He said God allows some souls, very rare ones, to come down from that highest state.
Come down.
Well, perhaps not down exactly, but they retain a subtle ego. He called it the ego of knowledge, or the ego of devotion.
Why? What's the purpose of retaining any ego after reaching samadhi?
To teach. He said God keeps this trace of ego in them so they can interact with the world and guide others. Their minds kind of oscillate, he explained, between that sixth plane, ajna, and the seventh, sahasrara. They remain connected to the absolute, but can still function to help humanity.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Did he give examples of people like this?
He did. For the ego of devotion, he mentions sages like Narada and the Kumaras, who are all about spreading divine love.
Okay.
And for the ego of knowledge, he pointed to figures like Shankaracharya and Sukadeva, great teachers of wisdom of jnana.
So different flavors of retained ego for different teaching purposes.
Exactly. He used a great analogy. He compared them to big steamships.
Steamships.
Yeah, like they don't just cross the ocean themselves. They're big enough to carry lots of passengers, other people, across to the other shore to enlightenment. Their realization serves others.
That's a fantastic image. So putting it all together, Sri Ramakrishna is really emphasizing that Kundalini awakening is, well, necessary for higher spiritual consciousness, isn't it?
It seems absolutely central to his explanation of the process. It's the mechanism for that transformation.
But it's not just about the mechanics of energy rising through chakras, is it? What about prayer?
No, definitely not just mechanics. He absolutely stressed the importance of sincere prayer, and he made this really interesting observation.
What was that?
He said that a deep feeling of restlessness, a real yearning for God, for the divine, that feeling itself can actually help awaken the Kundalini.
So that longing, that ache for something more, is itself a spiritual catalyst.
It seems so. It's not solely about technique. That intense desire, that bhakti element, again, plays a vital role in starting the journey.
Okay, so let's try and recap this amazing journey Sri Ramakrishna mapped out. You have this primordial energy, Kundalini, just sitting dormant at the base of the spine.
Coiled up, asleep.
Right. And through spiritual practice, maybe yoga, meditation, and especially, it seems, through intense devotion and longing,
That restlessness for God.
it awakens.
Yeah.
And it starts to travel up that central channel, the Sushumna, through these 6 main energy centers.
Muladhara, Svadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata.
And each stage brings huge shifts. At the heart, Anahata, you start detaching from worldly stuff, get that first glimpse of light, that what is this moment?
Well, the wonder begins. Then Visuddha, the throat, where you lose interest in anything but the divine, free from illusion.
Then Ajna, the third eye, seeing the absolute, Satchidananda, but still slightly separate, like light through glass.
That final hurdle.
Until finally, potentially, it reaches the Sahasrara, the crown.
The 1,000-petaled lotus.
And there's union, samadhi, complete merging, loss of duality, silence, knowledge of Brahman.
That's the ultimate goal described. And for most, the body is let go soon after.
Unless you're one of those steamships, retaining that subtle ego of knowledge or devotion to come back and teach.
Exactly. It's such a complete yet vividly described map of inner transformation. His genius was making it feel almost observable.
It really is.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Sri Ramakrishna's perspective, here's something for you, the listener, to maybe ponder. Think about these stages he describes. Even if you haven't had a full-blown Kundalini awakening, perhaps you recognize echoes, that gradual shift away from just material goals.
Or maybe those moments of feeling a deeper connection, a disinterest in negativity or gossip.
Exactly. Or even just that underlying feeling, that restlessness we mentioned, that longing for something more. Could that itself, as Sri Ramakrishna suggested, be a little nudge from that potential energy within? A quiet call towards your own transformation.
Something to definitely reflect on. That restlessness might be more significant than we think.